So getting into the early stages of the Rising of the Shield Hero is always a very difficult task for some, and particularly me included. I always struggled with the first volume or the beginning of the Rising of the Shield Hero. Not because it's a bad anime or a bad light novel, but because of how much the light novel and the anime get you so angry at, of course, other players in this story. And that is exactly the objective of the story. The objective is to get you angry, to get you riled up, to, be annoyed at those that are puppeteering and those that are being puppeted. And that is one of the things that I really love about Rising of the Shield Hero, especially in the early stages, is how it executes that emotional response so perfectly. But I also think that's one of the reasons why it became such a controversial topic, because it was so good at doing what it did. It just ended up aggravating those that were like, I can't bear watching this, and continuing on and seeing the growth and the development, not just for the Shield Hero himself, but also Raphtalia and of course the other characters as well. Because if you play the long game with the Rising of the Shield Hero when it comes to light novels, you get that gratifying feeling in it. But again, I'm more focusing on volume 1. And that is very much the point. In the early stages, you find out that the other heroes are very ignorant, narcissistic, childish, and they've very much got this whole idea that they know best, they know more, and anyone else is just a liar. Especially, you walk into this situation where they're talking about their previous worlds, or their previous lives as well, and they're talking about little things, and they're talking about some of the games they've played, and they're calling each other liars about the most minute, dumbest things. And it's just like, straight away, from any outside perspective, you can instantly see, well, hey, what if we're all from different places? But instantly it goes into this ramble of, oh, no, you're a liar, no, you're a liar, or what are you going on about? And it takes a bit of time before they realize, oh, we're all from different Japans. And it's just kind of funny how quick they're to go at each other's throats. And very much, they are also very quick to look down on the Shield Hero because they see him as the weakest link. Because the one thing you notice with the 4 heroes is 3 are offensive and 1 is defensive, which does make sense from, a gaming perspective, especially MMOs, because generally in most MMOs you'll have your tank, your healer, and your multiple DPS. Depending on the game, depends on how many DPS are in that group. If you're looking for a classic like World of Warcraft, it's 3 DPS, 1 tank, 1 healer for a dungeon. In raids, it can kind of increase to 2 tanks, 2 healers, and then say like 6 to 8 DPS. Depending on the scale. And then you've got other games like Final Fantasy XIV, where it's completely different, where it's tank, healer, 2 DPS, because there's a bit more of a focus on the tank and the healers also being offensive as well. And I kind of actually look at the Shield Hero being more of a Final Fantasy XIV style Shield Hero kind of thing, because the Shield Hero, as much as is very defensive in the early stages, they do have the ability, Naofumi has the ability to gain offensive stuff, and I think it's more of a choice. And maybe in these certain other games, maybe these other heroes or players went more defensive and didn't notice the other progressions. Maybe that's the case, or maybe the games were just poorly balanced. That's one thing they did say, that they were completely broken in the sense of dysfunctional classes, that they wanted to get rid of the Shield Hero as a class in some of these games. So the thing that I notice very much in, of course, this world that is, of course, that they've been summoned to, is that the Shield Hero has many different options. It can be very much profession based, it can also be very defensive based, but it can also be, of course, defensive and offensive. So you can pick and choose, and you can flip from those at a moment's notice. And that is something that happens at the end of this volume when the Shield Hero is going up against, of course, the Spear Hero. Now, of course, the Spear Hero, the Sword Hero, and the Bow Hero are, of course, going to have an advantage when it comes to offensive. If the Shield Hero had the same advantages as being offensive and then had defensive and they didn't have defensive, it would be completely broken. But the Shield Hero has that ability to be also defensive and offensive, which gives that flexibility depending on the situation. So I feel like, again, it's just, the Shield Hero has definitely branched into other areas depending on the types of monsters, areas that they've gone to. But at the same time, the Shield Hero needs offensive users, like, of course, characters like Raphtalia that can, of course, assist in killing things. Of course, the shield hero is not going to be able to kill things on his own. And so that's why I feel like the misguidedness of these other characters is very much silly, because again, they've gone straight into this mindset of, well, in my past life it was weak, so it must be weak in this world. And that is one thing you notice very quickly, is that they assume that their past experiences automatically translate into this. And it shows, again, that narcissistic mindset, that ignorance, that everything evolves around them. They're the only ones that know best. Everyone else is a liar, and their knowledge is supreme. And they don't ever consider that maybe that they don't fully grasp or know everything going on. And it is, of course, that game mindset they also have as well. But that also leads into the fact that one, they start to look down on the shield hero very quickly, but also because they're so quick to just disbelieve everyone, that gives a perfect opportunity for someone to manipulate that whole situation in creating a false scenario, which then turns everyone against the shield hero, which creates this spiraling downward effect. And this is where a lot of the controversy for the anime and the light novel comes from, particularly the light novel, because it wasn't actually in the anime so much. Of course, this was more the monologuing in the shield hero's head, which is of course the anger and the rage and the controlling that he wanted to have on Raphtalia at the beginning. Because of how angry he was, he wanted vengeance on someone, and anyone would have been good enough. But again, he didn't end up doing it. What he fought and what he did were two completely different things. And that's one of the things that humans do. Sometimes they sit there and they think of something really stupid in the back of their head, but then they're like, no. And they go a completely different direction because they know right from wrong. And the shield hero is a compassionate, caring person. He's just angry. He's lashing out at the world because he feels betrayed, he feels alone, and he feels like Raphtalia will leave him at a moment's notice. And the only reason why she's saying it is because she's forced to, because of the crest. And that is something that very much happens right at the end of the volume, where of course he gets into a duel, he gets angry and says, you know, why don't you leave, why don't you turn on me? And that's where she shows that she's not going to leave and that she believes him. And of course the blacksmith is also the other character that also believes him as well, realizes, you know, yeah, you're a bit of a thorn in the side, you're a bit difficult, but you know, maybe things don't just completely add up. And that is something that, you know, gradually happens. And the shield hero sees that light at the end of the tunnel. So it's that kind of dark side of being a hero. And it's one of the reasons why I really love The Rise of the Shield Hero, because it doesn't take that whole sunshine and rainbows and daffodils every day. Because one of the issues that I have with a lot of isekai type series is that main protagonist gets transported to an alternative world and their past life just gets completely ignored. Past traumas, families, knowledge. Some of the knowledge does pass over, like, you know, science and all that kind of stuff, and knowledge about architecture and all that kind of stuff sometimes passes over, and they use that to become super rich or powerful and win all the girls. But in this case, you know, it's more grounded in realisticness, and it's also showing just how politics really does work in reality, which is why it's kind of funny where people get so angry at these kind of light novel series where they're like, oh my god, it's so problematic. But it's like, hey, this is how politics worked back in the old days, and it still does to this very day, where people are conniving, vindictive, and they'll turn on each other and they'll use scenarios to get a leg up and make their enemies go down a peg or two. And of course the shield hero was manipulated in that, and that is why he did what he did. Was it the right thing to do? No, but he was desperate, and yeah, there's a reason why he did it. It doesn't make it right, but at the same time, he never followed through on a lot of the things that he was thinking in the back of his head. It was just so much rage and anger, and that's why you see the Curse series at the end of the light novel, where you hear that unlock and you start to see what is going on and the possibility of future issues that are going to arise. Now, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts of the early stages, of course, of the rising of the shield hero? I'll be going through, breaking down analysis videos of all the different volumes, kind of staying more in focus of what is part of the anime, and especially with season 2. So again, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Of course, if you do want to support the channel, definitely check out the Patreon page. You can do votes, get inside knowledge about what content I'm going. Of course, you can get, of course, a copy of all the thumbnails without all the text and all the stuff with it. So of course, you get a lot of exclusive perks on the Patreon. So again, love to know your thoughts. But of course, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more anime content, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.